Back on the ship, still in hyperspace, Ahsoka and Sabine have another tedious chat. Sabine asks if the urgency of their situation might speed up her training a bit, and Ahsoka says nah, and Sabine says well she can't feel the Force anyway. Which is true. I don't think this can be emphasized enough. Sabine is not Force sensitive. She never has been Force sensitive. Nobody had any reason to believe she could be Force sensitive. She would never even have been a candidate to be trained as a Jedi. She's far too old for one thing, but most pressingly, she isn't Force sensitive. In no version of the canon would she have been a candidate, whether the Force in its older spiritualist guise or in its newer midi-chlorian related guise. If you don't have it, you don't have it. It moves through everyone and everything, but not everybody can move it. And that's fine. It's possible to be an interesting character and not be a Jedi. In fact, most of the interesting characters in Star Wars history are not Jedi. The prequels added thousands more Jedi than the OT, and none of them was as interesting as any given non-Jedi from the OT. Who the fuck is this guy? Tell me about this man. Who even is he? Jedi can feel the Force in others. Obi-Wan can feel the Force in Luke, as can Vader, and Yoda and the Emperor. Qui-Gon feels Anakin's presence long before he confirms his theory with a midi-chlorian count. Nobody ever felt it in Sabine. And even then, there'd be a simple way to confirm it either way. Check her midi-chlorian count, goddammit. I'd put money on it being under 5 midi-chlorians at most. But Disney Star Wars really can't make up its mind about the Force. The Last Jedi was praised by absolute fucking morons for seemingly showing that anyone could potentially use the Force. It has nothing to do with fate or with bloodlines. Mando Season 3 has it, but it is very much to do with bloodlines, hence Gideon taking Baby Yoda's blood and using it to create Force-sensitive clones of himself that he inexplicably didn't think were worth guarding. He just stood around waiting for Mando to destroy them, and then he bitched about it after the fact.
I was isolating the potential to wield the Force and incorporating it into an unstoppable army. And you smothered them before they could draw their first breath.
Even though he hired 3 Praetorian guards, he has hundreds of jet troopers, he has himself, now he just stands there and waits because he's a dick. Ahsoka is now taking a turn back toward the TLJ reading of things, because it's taking a non-Force sensitive Sabine here, and it will show her a couple of times trying and failing to use the Force, the simple reason being that, she doesn't have it, and then it would imply that because she tried a couple of times to use it and she really wants to have it, this will count as training. And so between episodes 7 and 8, she will go from complete Force insensitivity to significantly powerful Jedi lady.
That's not how the Force works.
Ahsoka outright tells her in this scene that the Force is in everyone, and the only reason everybody doesn't use it is that not everyone can handle the training and the discipline.
But training and focus are what truly defines someone's success. Not everyone can handle the type of discipline it takes to master the ways of the Force.
This is shit, Dave. This is really shit. You don't even have to like midi-chlorians very much to acknowledge that a new democratic version of the Force is just so much worse. It doesn't just make the Force more common and less rare, it makes a mockery of the whole idea of training with it. And it doesn't just do that, it cheapens the whole idea, and it doesn't just do that, it cheapens the Jedi as a whole. And it doesn't just do that, it cheapens everyone who is not a Jedi. Since rather than exploring and exploiting anything else that makes Sabine unique, a Mandalorian heritage for example, her history with that culture, her experience in its civil war, her once mastery of the darksaber, her knowledge of unique weapons and armor, nah, fuck all that, just stick a lightsaber in her hand and parrot empty vague platitudes about the Force, and then have her super powerful. That's what makes her a good character, guys. Fuck you, Dave, that's just pathetic. There was once an old MMO called Star Wars Galaxies, and it's an instructive parallel, I think, with Disney Star Wars. When it began, it was fiendishly difficult to become a Jedi. You could become a Jedi, but it required dozens of hours worth of quests, hours of quests just to discover the Force even, and hours more to hone specific skills, and hours more on other specific series of quests, plus fulfilling a number of other criteria, at the end of which you just about managed to become a Padawan. To become an actual Jedi, you have to do dozens of hours more questing, and if you use the Force or your lightsaber in public, you could find yourself with player bounties on your head. The idea being that at this stage in galactic history, Jedi were rare and in hiding, and immersion would be ruined if you had thousands of player Jedi running around Imperial-controlled planets during the height of the Galactic Empire. They made it hard because it's supposed to be hard, because that's what the world demanded. Because it was so hard to do, very few people completed it, and everybody had to begin the game as one of any number of other non-Force sensitive races with any number of non-Jedi professions. It made the galaxy more varied, alive, and true to the source, and the game became really popular. People loved it, everything was player-driven, and the absence of traditional class systems, and crucially the absence of Jedi, meant that you could create really unique characters with unique roles and skills, and lo and behold, people did. That's what brought the galaxy to life. That's what made the game popular. The absence of Jedi specifically created a highly dynamic environment and a sense of a lived-in galaxy, and people flocked to it. But LucasArts was very concerned, because you see, marketing really wanted there to be Jedi in the game. Never mind that the game was selling pretty well and getting pretty popular, they thought it couldn't possibly sell and get popular unless people could see and be Jedi, because the Jedi are Star Wars, right? That's what makes Star Wars so recognizable. Nobody could possibly enjoy Star Wars unless they could be and see Jedi. That's how this works. So they forced changes to make it easier and easier to become a Jedi. And because being a Jedi is pretty awesome, everybody abandoned their old organic playstyles and started skewing the game. It became nothing more than a grind to get Jedi status, which began breaking the game since so much of it relied on organic communities and varied playstyles. And then they said, fuck it, let's create quite possibly the worst patch in all existence. It was called the NGE, or the New Game Experience. Rather than highly individualized and unique characters, they introduced a really lame and shallow class system. They said, let's just let people choose Jedi right from the beginning, while also kind of, forgetting to remove loads of the old quests from the old system, so you'd end up having random old men lead you thousands of miles into the desert for a training mission that no longer existed. Everybody chose to be Jedi, because of course they did, because it was so easy, because the Jedi really are amazing. And then the game got tired and boring, and it shed a vast number of players, and it died. Because they looked at the Jedi, they said, there can be no interest in Star Wars without the Jedi, let everyone be a Jedi, and then everything died. The point of this comparison is that what makes the Jedi so iconic isn't just lightsabers and the Force, it's not just the epic fights or the sense of fate and destiny. Of course everyone wants to be a Jedi, but what makes them so popular is that not everybody can be a Jedi. The law of diminishing returns is as inevitable as balance in the Force. The more accessible something is, the more easily attainable, the more common, the more other people have it, the less special it is, the less remarkable, the less it can inspire dreams and aspirations. Everybody wants to be a Jedi because not everybody can be a Jedi. If everyone could be a Jedi, what would be the point? And that is kind of what Sabine represents here. It's what she represents in a way Jason wouldn't, by the way, because Jason's character history is with the Jedi. His father was one. The Force runs in his bloodline. But none of that's true of Sabine. For Sabine, the Force is like those muscles she definitely doesn't have. If you work out enough, you can just get it. Try moving a mug a couple of times, then just wait for the writers to say, yep, that's pretty much good enough time has passed, then pow, you have total and complete mastery of the Force. Well done. Yeah, well, that was a fun aside. Now back to boring.